Hi, I'm Megan Hepner, Creative Editor for Creating Keepsakes magazine. Today I want to talk about some clearly cool ideas for using transparency sheets. If you aren't familiar with transparency sheets, they are a clear plastic film that you can put on your projects. You can buy them just plain like this one, which is available at an office supply or craft store, and add your own elements to it using a StazOn or a permanent ink because they are slick, so you don't want your ink to smudge. You can also layer them to make your projects have a smooth texture. Or you can go to your scrapbook store and get some that are a little bit more decorative and playful. I want to show you some of your options. You can get them in a few sizes. They are sold just like pattern paper in a 12 by 12 size. So here are some that we have from Hambly Screen Prints. And you can see that it is a clear sheet, but there is a printed pattern. In this case, we have some birds on a wire, like that. But this transparency is smooth and plastic, so that's your base option. It's just a 12 by 12 smooth sheet with a pattern printed on it. Many patterns to choose from, so you can get something to fit your project needs. You could also get transparencies with a more textured finish, like these 12 by 12 sheets from Fancy Pants Designs. On one side, just like the ones we just looked at, they're smooth, but on another side, they're actually flocked. So anywhere that there's a print or pattern that has a fun flocked texture to it. You can get a basic design or print like this, a geometric, or you can even do some that are a little more playful, like the robots, and create really great projects that way. This is the 12 by 12 format, but transparencies do not end there. You can get smaller accents as well. So oftentimes scrapbookers will use transparencies over photographs. They make a wonderful frame around an image. The transparency is clear. Pretend this is your picture, and you just put that over, and it'll create an instant frame for any photo that you want to emphasize on your project. Or you can just use transparencies as accents on your page. So some smaller ones like these from Glitz Designs make nice choices. You have a playing card, a little calendar, even banners. If you want to line or frame something on your project, you can do so. And it's fun because your cardstock or your pattern paper that's beneath will pop through, the color will pop through on these kinds of accents. If you want to, you can even tell your story using a transparency sheet. So these fun journaling spots are by Basic Gray, and you can see that they are actually more than they appear to be. They're two parts. So the base is just your paper, and you can add your journaling to that, and then you layer the transparency element over the top, and it really adds some pizzazz to those journaling spots where your story will live. So many choices when it comes to transparencies and adding those to your projects. Here are a few techniques you can do as well using this versatile product. The first one's by Mo Saha, and she, if you haven't spotted it already, has used a transparency to house her journaling right here. And there's a trick to that to make your journaling words really stand out. Let me show you what that is. You're going to want to use paint. Paint will make this really work for you. Start with some cardstock, just a basic scrap of cardstock the size you want your journaling spot to be, and add your color. In this case, since we have a dark pen, a dark permanent black, you want to use a lighter or brighter color. If you used a dark paint with a dark ink, your words wouldn't stand out as well. So this bright green is perfect. And you can just do one color, or if you look closely at most projects, she actually has some green and some yellow behind her words. So you can have fun with a few different shades if you'd like to do that. So once your paper is completely painted, go ahead and select your transparency sheet and attach it to the painted base once it's dry, of course. And you may be asking, well, how do you attach a transparency since they're clear? That's a very good question that we get often. There are many choices for you. In this case with Mo's, she just used a basic stapler to attach the transparency. And that works well because staples are decorative, but they're also functional. Another piece that's similar to that is brads. They're very decorative, but also functional, so you could poke a brad through your sheet and it would look cute and hold it in place. Sewing machine and stitching, same thing. Will kind of create a decorative edge, but hold that down. Or you can disguise your glue if you want to use glue by making sure you adhere or you position your adhesive where you know you're going to layer something over the top of the transparency. So in this case, maybe I'm going to put a flower here at the end. I'll make sure my glue is down there holding the transparency in place, and then the flower will cover up any glue that you can see. So don't let that shy you away from using transparencies because you do have a lot of choices. So back to the project, we have the journaling spot over the painted piece, and then as I mentioned earlier, you're going to want a permanent pen because it is a slick surface. A Sharpie works great, and I love this particular transparency sheet design because it is already lined. So when you're handwriting your journaling, that's, at least for me, that's always helpful to have lines helping keep my handwriting straight. But those lines are printed on the sheet. And then when it's layered over the paint, you can see they really pop out, and you can add your words for a very attractive journaling spot option. You can also use transparencies with your titles. So let's look at an idea done that way. It's a project by Amy Tan, and she's done some hand stitching, both on her background of her layout and on the transparency. So with this project, the transparency is actually this wood grain print, and her title, Picture Perfect, you can see the hand stitching here is both on the solid cardstock, and then it jumps up onto the transparency and back off to the cardstock again. It looks harder than it is. Let me show you how simple it is to create that look. What you'll want to do is, with your cardstock in front of you, position your transparency where you want it on the page. Amy has hers slightly off center like that. And then, if you can see, when the transparency is not on the page, it's just clear, and then the wood grain print is there, but it's subtle. And by backing it with the cardstock, you can really see that pattern well. Pretending this is on my layout, I would then take a pen, and the parts of my title that I want on the transparency, I'm just going to write. So if you look here, you can see T-U-R-E, part of the word picture, already written there. That's just going to be a guide for my stitching. So I have that down. With your words all ready to go, you then want to take your paper piercer and a mat, and then you'll just go ahead and follow your penned letters, poking holes every so often on the word on each letter, so that that's where your stitching will go. If you're using a thicker needle or a thicker fiber or thread, make sure you get bigger holes. You can just put your piercer through the hole and really work it to get it larger. Or you can just use a smaller needle and a smaller or finer fiber, and this will do the trick for you. With all of your holes pierced, I'm sure you know what's next. You're just going to take your needle and thread and over/under stitch each letter. And this is kind of already in process, so part of my title is stitched. And then if you look down at the end result again at Amy's, you can see it really does add amazing texture, combining the stitching with the smooth transparency, a good combination there, and makes that title stand out. So don't be afraid of transparency. See through all of those hesitations you had and get to work making fantastic designs.